Shalom Israel, giving honor and praise to the Most High God for the reading and understanding of His Word. This week, I got a lot of requests to teach the commandments, so that's what we are going to focus on today. This Bible study is going to be about teaching the commandments, learning the commandments that you are able to start doing today. Now, a lot of you that watch my videos are already in this truth, but now we have new brothers and sisters that are coming into this truth and have absolutely no idea what commandments we need to be keeping. Now, the answer to that is all of them, but they don't know because a lot of them come out of the Christian church where they taught we no longer have to keep the commandments because we were no longer under the law, which is an absolute lie. But I'm glad you're here today so that you can learn what you can start doing today to put you on your path to eternal life. All right, now, the first thing I want you to do is open your Bible. You must read along. Don't just take my word for it. I want you to open your Bible and read. Now, the Bible that I read from is the original 1611 King James Bible. Why? Because the other translations have taken books out of the Bible. The 1611 contains all of the original writings of the Bible that has been released. Now, there is an app that's called KJVA Bible, which stands for King James Version with the Apocrypha Bible. So if you put that into your Play Store or Google, whatever it is, go ahead, download that app on your phone so that you can have all of the books, because I read from those books as well. Now, Apocrypha simply means hidden books. These are the books that they took out. That's all that's referring to. And they all line up with Scripture absolutely perfectly, and you'll see that as we go through these. So that's just a tidbit. Now, if you don't have this, then Google those scriptures. All right, so the first verse I want us to go ahead and open up. I want you to go to 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15. All right, now there's a reason why I'm going here first, and especially for those of you who are now coming into this truth. I'm going to read it, then I'm going to explain it. Verse 15. Study to shew thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So, you'll learn here coming in the next couple of minutes why you need to study to show yourself approved. But as you see, that was a commandment. Now, this commandment is not in the 10 Commandments. All throughout this Bible, you are going to find commandment after commandment after commandment that the Most High has given us to follow. When I say us, I mean the children of Israel, blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, the Israelites. We know that we are the Israelites because we can be identified by the curses in Deuteronomy chapter 28, 15 through 68. And I have plenty of other lessons in my education area for you to go back and reference. So, study to shew thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, because you don't need to be ashamed when you learn this word, and rightly dividing the word of truth. So, pretty much what that means is separating the truth from the BS. All right? Now, the next verse I want you to go to is Psalms chapter 147, and we're going to read 19 through 20. Psalms chapter 147, 19 through 20. And it reads, He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. You see that? Not the whole world. So let me go ahead and read this again. He, being God, showeth his word unto Jacob, shows his word unto Jacob. He only gave his word to one particular people, Jacob. Now remember, Jacob's name was turned into Israel after he fought the angel. Jacob is the father of the 12 tribes. All right? The 12 tribes of Israel that makes up the nation of Israel, the Israelites. God only gave the Bible to us, no one else. Just us, as you just saw in the word. Verse 20. He hath not dealt so with any nation, And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. So as you see, the verse 19 said that he only gave his word to Israel, the Israelites. The next verse says he does not deal with any other nation. They don't know his word. Why? Because the Most High does not deal with the other nations. He only deals with Israel. So that means that these commandments are for you and only you if you are an Israelite. Okay? So now, there's something that I'm going to do called the setup. Before we can get into these commandments, I'm going to show you some consequences. The consequences are going to be referred as to the setup. I want you to remember that. Remember that in your mind. I'm going to be referring back to the setup a lot as we go through these commandments. All right? So the next verse I want you to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 20, and we're going to start at verse 12. The book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 12. Okay? And it reads, "And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works." Remember that. "And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged, every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire." Now, that has a lot of meat on that bone, so we are going to break this down. Why? Because this is crucial and it's very important when it comes to keeping the commandments, and you're going to learn that. So let's go ahead and start back at verse 12. "And I saw the dead." Now, I want you to understand that I saw the dead. Who are the dead? Those who died in this truth or out of this truth. Those who are already dead, who already perished, whose bodies already left, and their spirit went back to the Most High. Small and great. So, the ones who kept the commandments and the ones who didn't. Stand before God. Now, I want you to understand that. You are going to stand before the Most High. The day is coming. There is a day in the future when you are going to stand in front of God, and you are going to be judged by what you did on this planet. Let's continue. "And the books were opened." What books? The books of the Bible. Now, what do the books of the Bible contain? They contain the commandments. All right? So those are the books that were open. "And another book was opened." So what book is that? "Which is the book of life." So there is another book that the angels hold. It's called the book of life. Now, either your name is written in that book or it is not. All right? And we're going to find out why. Let's keep on going. "And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works." I want you to understand that. So now, for those of you that were dead, all the things that you did on this planet is going to be compared to the books of the Bible, which contain the commandments. So you're going to have the angel sitting looking over and be like, okay, hold on a second. All right, well, guess what? He didn't keep this one here. He didn't keep that one there. These are the works. The works are you keeping the commandments. Okay? Not about what you did good. All right? Not how much money you gave somebody. That's not what that means. The books are going to contain what you've done as far as keeping the commandments. Let's continue. "And the sea gave up the dead which were in it." And death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. Now, that part right there is very, very important. As you see, this says death and hell. Now, the dead are those that have already perished, or the ones who are alive not keeping the commandments. Why are they considered dead? Because life is not guaranteed to them. When you don't keep the commandments, you're done. You're dead. And hell. Now, from what the Christian church teaches you, hell is a place where you go after you die and you're down in the fire. That is not true. That is a false doctrine. That comes from Dante's Inferno. Hell is a condition. Hell is what you, blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, are living in right now because you are not in paradise. We are in oppression. We are still in slavery. We are still in hell. And you're about to find out right now that they lied, and they've been lying to you about what hell really is. You are in hell because of your condition that you are in on this planet right now, because we are royalty. We are kings, princes, and queens and princesses. Okay, I said princesses. Princesses, okay? That is what we are. We're supposed to be on top, but we're not, because we broke the commandments of the Most High God, so we are in hell. Let's continue. Let me go ahead and start that back at 13. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. So when you read that now, it makes sense, right? And they were judged, every man according to their works. So again, you are going to be judged according to the commandments that you either kept or did not keep. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. So do you see right there how hell is separate from the lake of fire? Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Hell is not a place where the fire is burning or whatever and they throw it down there. No, there is a lake of fire that is coming. It's not here yet. It's coming, and we're going to learn this as we go on about these commandments. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So there is a judgment coming where there's going to be a lake of fire, which we're going to learn about where that lake of fire is coming from. And if your name is not in that book of life read by the angels, you're done. You're going into that lake of fire. Let's continue. Now, let's go ahead and go. We're going to do a precept of that. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 5, and we're going to start at verse 20, but we're going to read to 24. That is Isaiah chapter 5. We're going to start at verse 20, reading to 24. Okay, now, this is a precept of what we just read. Now, that was the book of Revelation. That was New Testament. Now we're going to go to the Old Testament and see if it says the same thing. All right, here we go. Woe. That's the first word. Woe means danger. Woe. Woe unto you. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. So what is that saying right there? That is saying, woe, death to you that says that evil is good and good is evil. So he's telling you right out the gate, you got a problem. 21. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. So what is that saying right there? It's saying, woe, danger, death to you, if you want to go by your own philosophy, or if you want to follow the philosophies of these other nations, if you want to go off of your own sensibility, because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to be going by every word of what this Bible says. Verse 22. Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine, and men of strength to mingle strong drink. Now, that wine is the lies of these other nations. Christianity, Islam, the Kemetic community, Egyptology, that wine, that disgusting wine that was not preserved by the Most High. Verse 23, which justify the wicked for reward and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. Verse 24, therefore, as the fire devoureth the stubble. Here's where that lake of fire is coming from. And the flame consumeth the shaft, so their root shall be as rottenness, and their blossom shall go up as dust, because they have cast away the law of the Lord of hosts, and despise the word of the Holy One of Israel. Did you read that? Did you understand that? I'm going to read 24 again. Therefore, as the fire devoureth the stubble. Now remember, before we read about that lake of fire. This is that lake of fire. And the flame consumeth the shaft. Where are these flames coming from? These flames are coming from the chariots when Christ and the angels return. So their root shall be as rottenness. So that means that, guess what? From the inside out, you are going to be rotting from the inside out when they come back. And their blossom shall go up as dust. So guess what? Those freaking flames of fire, lasers, or whatever it's going to be, is going to hit you. Boom, you're done. Finish. Let's continue. Because they have cast away the law of the Lord of hosts. Did you read that? Did you hear it? And did you understand it? For those that cast away the law, for those that ignore the commandments. That's what that's saying there. This is happening to the people that ignore the commandments. Let's continue. And despise the word of the Holy One of Israel. So that's saying, if you ignore the commandments, you are despising God. Just completely despising him. When you don't keep the commandments are the laws. Do you see how serious that is? That is the promise for you. If you don't keep the commandments, you are going to be consumed by that lake of fire. Now remember, all this that we just went over is called the setup. Okay, remember, lodge that in your mind, the setup. Now, let's start with some of the commandments now. Let's go ahead and jump right in. The first thing that I want to talk about with the commandments is the dress code. Yes, the Most High God gave us a dress code. Now, this is where I usually lose a lot of the women, because y'all can't get with this. Y'all can't get with this dress code. Why? Because you've been so brainwashed and so destroyed by the other philosophies of these other nations that you are to just disregard any sort of instruction when it comes to this Bible. Because they keep saying, you know what? The black woman is God. The Latin woman is God. Yes, y'all are gods, whatever. When the Most High said, I'm God. The Most High said he's God. And you are to do what he tells you to do, daughter of Israel. So we're going to see what these dress codes are. Now, the first thing I want you to go to, let's start at Numbers, Old Testament, Numbers chapter 15 and verse 38. Numbers chapter 15, verse 38. Now, this dress code is for men and women, for the both of us. All right? So I'm not going to just be banging on the women. All right? But from my history and teaching his word, this is where I usually lose you at. All right? So let's go ahead and read this. Numbers chapter 15, verse 38. Speak unto the children of Israel. As a matter of fact, just so we can keep this in the proper context, first let me give you a little history. Now, Moses just got the children of Israel out of slavery, out of the land of Egypt. So now Moses is laying down the commandments that we are supposed to be keeping. So now he's talking to the children of Israel. Remember, all throughout this Bible, God is only talking to the children of Israel. That's it. Now, except for the book of Obadiah. Now, the book of Obadiah, he's talking to the Edomites. And when you get a chance, read that book. Now, I want to go back to 37. Let's start at 37, then we'll go down. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them and tell them, forcefully tell them, that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. So I'm going to stop right there. Now I want to go ahead and break that down. So let's do this. Speak unto the children of Israel. That's us, blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. And bid them, tell them forcibly, aggressively, that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations. Now, that meant all the way back then to all the way now. Throughout your generations. There is no scripture in this Bible that tells you to stop. Not one. So what are these fringes? What is he talking about? Let me go ahead and show you. This right here is one of my garments, all right? This is my shirt. These are the fringes right here. That right there is the border of blue. We are supposed to have these on our garments, just like the Most High. We have to do that. Now, he said throughout your generations. So that means that my kids, your kids, you have to wear these fringes. So now, right here, this is my son's garment. Here it is, the fringes and a border of blue. My kids know what's up with this word right here. Here's my daughter's dress, the border of blue and the fringes. So I'm keeping up with what the Most High said. I have to have myself and my generation. Now your generation, that's your children. We all must be in our fringes. And there's a reason why. Let's go ahead and continue. Let's go down now to 39. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord. That is the purpose why we must wear our fringes, because it's going to remind us to follow the laws, statutes, and commandments that the Most High God gave us. That is a commandment. You're supposed to wear fringes. Let's continue. I'm going to read it again. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord and do them. And that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which ye used to go a-whoring. And what does that mean? Meaning that you are going to remember those fringes. You're going to look down and remember the commandments, so that you are not following the other nations and doing what they do. The Most High said that you are royalty, you are separate, you are to look different from everybody else. And when you look down and you see these fringes, you are going to remember to keep the commandments. That's a commandment. Let's continue. That ye may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto your God. So you see that? That's what the Most High said you have to do. Now, is there a penalty for that? Because there's a lot of people that sit there and be like, oh, you know what? No. I can't do that. I'm not putting that on. Not on my clothes. I'm not putting that on there. Well, guess what? If you choose not to do that, there is a penalty. Let's go right now to Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 8. Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 8. And it reads, And it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice. What is the Lord's sacrifice? What is the day of the Lord's sacrifice? This is going back to the setup. Going right back to the setup. The day that the Most High sends Christ and the angels back to destroy all of the other nations, put them in captivity, and the 2/3 rebellious Israelites that don't want to keep these commandments, like we've already read. I'm going to read it again. And it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice that I will punish the princes and the king's children and all such as are clothed with strange apparel. What would be considered strange apparel? Everything outside of the dress code. So when the chariots are coming and they're sitting down and they're scanning, they're looking for who is in fringes, who is in the proper dress code that the Most High God set. That right there is going to start to separate you from everyone else getting torn up by that fire. That right there is a commandment. That is why you need to be wearing them. Now, that's not the only part of the dress code. Now, I want to go to, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 5. This is where I lose the sisters at. And I can already predict right now, so many of you are going to catch attitudes after I read this. But guess what? This is not me. This is what the Most High is telling you to do. So if you got a problem with it, take it up with him. Here it is. Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God. Did you just read and hear what he said? It says, the woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man. What does that mean? What do women wear that men wear? The answer is pants. Women, you cannot wear pants. It is forbidden by the Most High. The pants were made for the men of the children of Israel. They're called breeches in the Bible. Breeches, britches. It's like how they used to say in the South, you know, them country folk. Pull up your britches, boy. Yes. Breeches were made for men. Even going back to the days of slavery, when the women were out in the fields, they were rocking dresses. Why? Because the slaves knew who they were. The slaves followed the commandments to the best of their ability for what their slave masters were not killing them for doing. But all the way back then, they were doing it. The reason why now you ladies do not like wearing dresses or modest dresses and you wear pants is to show off your shape. We all know what it is. We all know what it's about. You want people to see that booty. You want them to see your shape. Why? Because you have been conditioned by these other nations, especially by the Edomites, who are today Caucasians, that you are to be completely sexual. That is not what the Most High said you are to be. You are to be in modest clothing because only your husband, not your boyfriend, not your jump off, your husband is supposed to be the only person that sees your figure. Because the Most High said that's how valuable you are. But we've been indoctrinated for years upon years upon years. But that's what the Most High said about you. Now, you can either follow or don't follow. Now, as you see, you already see the consequences. So, either keep the commandments and live, don't keep them, or die. Now, fellas, now to us. We cannot wear female garments. And that is going crazy right now. Do you know, like, these rappers now, that they're wearing dresses? They're promoting this. Kanye wearing dresses. Will Smith's son wearing dresses. Why do you think the Most High said this all the way back then? Because he knew it would be coming today. That we would be wearing dresses. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, when we were in captivity in Egypt, and the men were out there, the Egyptians used to have us in dresses and in makeup. Yes, they were effeminizing us all the way back then. So guess what, fellas? You can't be doing that. You can't be wearing dresses or bras or panties or anything like that. So let me go ahead and tell you right now. Medea, the Most High finds to be abominable. Abominable. What does that mean? It means he hates it. He hates looking at that. He can't stand it. Then I'm going to go so far as to say, when the Most High sees you out of dress code, let's go back and read what he said. For all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God. So guess what that's saying? The Most High hates you when you are out of dress code. Now, that sounds like a horrible statement to make, right? Sounds horrible, but it's not. Now, guess what we're going to do? We are going to go to a Bible verse that they took out the Bible. This is Ecclesiasticus. This is in the Apocrypha, a part of the original 1611 King James Bible. It is Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verse 6. And like I said, if you don't have the app downloaded, Google it. It's there. Ecclesiasticus chapter 12 and verse 6. And it reads, For the Most High hateth sinners. Do you see that? That's why they took this out the Bible. Do you know why they took this out the Bible? So that they can go ahead and progress with the false doctrine. God doesn't hate the sinner. He hates the sin. That is a false doctrine, and it is a damn lie. Do you see what the Bible said? The Bible said right here, Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verse 6. For the Most High hateth sinners, and will repay vengeance unto the ungodly, and keepeth them against the mighty day of their punishment. As you see, this goes right back to the setup. When you break these commandments, the Most High God says, yo, he hates you. Because when you break the commandments, you are in violation of the law, which means that you are in iniquity, which means you are sinning. It all means the same thing. So when you are sinning, God hates you. Point blank, simple. That's why you can't play around with this, and you are not going to learn this in your Christian church. All right? Now, let's go ahead and go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. Now, let's go ahead and go to 1 Timothy, New Testament, because we were reading out of the Old Testament. Now, this is the New Testament. 1 Timothy chapter 2, and we're going to start at verse 9. 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 9. And it reads, In like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array, but which becometh women professing godliness with good works. Did you understand that? Of course, if you didn't, I'm getting ready to break it down. In like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel. So what does that mean? It means that's a dress. It doesn't mean that no busted, ugly dress. You don't got to be wearing a potato sack. You can wear a dress. You can be very stylish, but it has to be modest. So that means that your titties can't be popping out. Or the freaking dress can't come right up to the freaking butt cheek. Nah, you got to be modest. You know what modest means. Something that well, I can't even say that because some of y'all wear some crazy stuff to work, so I can't even say that. But you know what modest is. And that's how you are supposed to dress. Women. And the Most High talks to y'all constantly about the way you dress. Now, let's go to the rest of this here so that there's no confusion. With shamefacedness and sobriety. So he's breaking something down right now. Not with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array. So what is he talking about right now? The fashion of a prostitute. The Most High is saying you can't be looking like no prostitute. That's not his daughters. That's not royalty. And y'all know how prostitutes dress. The Most High is telling you you can't be looking like no Broadway hoe. Dress modestly. You are royal. You are regal. You are his daughter. And you have to look like it. That's what the Most High is saying to you. He's showing you your value. And the horrible thing about this is that there's so many of our sisters, Black, Latinos, and Native Americans, that have absolutely no idea of their value. Because we have been broken by these other nations. We have been sexualized ever since we came off the slave ships. That's all they had us for. The men and the women. All right? All the way from the Nicki Minaj's to the Cardi B's that's showing everything all the way back to Mandingo. And that's all. That's the only way that they see us. Sex objects. Most High trying to tell you get your mind right. Verse 10. But which becometh women professing godliness with good works. So the Most High telling you, women, do the commandments, follow them. Follow the commandments. What's one of the commandments? Dress modestly, get in your fringes. Very simple, right? Easy. Now, next topic. Let's go to the Sabbath. This is a big one. The Sabbath. One of the reasons why we are still in our captivity and oppression today. This is one of the 10 commandments. One of the big boys. That we are supposed to keep the Sabbath day holy. We were commanded to remember it. We don't keep the Sabbath. Our people, Blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, we don't keep the Sabbath. There's only a certain few of us that do, the ones who are in this truth. So now we're going to learn what we need to be doing on the Sabbath. I want us to go right now to Exodus chapter 20 and verse 11. Old Testament. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8. And we're going to read 8 through 11. And mine is being a little slow right now. I apologize. But here we go. We got it. All right. And it reads, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. So you see right there what it says. You are not to do any work on the Sabbath day. Now I know a lot of you say, well, guess what? My job says that I have to work. Well, guess what? All those other religions and stuff out there, they go, when they get these jobs, they go right to their job. They go right to their bosses or whatever and say, hey, you know what? My religious belief says that I can do this, I can't do that. So guess what? You need to go to your job and say, you know what? Because of my religious practices, I am unable to work on the Sabbath. And if they choose to be difficult with that or whatever, then guess what? Start talking to the Most High and seek another place. And seek another place where he will put you under that will allow you to do that. Now, don't complain about it if you haven't tried it yet. You need to go ahead and do that. Because on my job, I don't work on Saturdays. And they know that already. Do what you want. But guess what? The Most High said, I cannot work on the Sabbath. There's no excuse. None whatsoever. So that's what you have to do. All right? So one of the big ones right there, there's no working on the Sabbath. Now, when is the Sabbath? A lot of people think that the Sabbath is on Sunday, which is idiotic. It's not. The Sabbath is from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. That is when the Sabbath is. In between that time, from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, you are to observe the laws of the Sabbath. Now, working is just one. We're going to go over some more. Now, let's go ahead and go to Nehemiah. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 10 and verse 31. The book of Nehemiah, chapter 10 and verse 31. And it reads, and I'm going to go over this. I'm going to break this one down for those of you that don't understand. And if the people of the land bring ware or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we would not buy it of them on the Sabbath or on the holy day, and that we would leave the seventh year and the exaction of every debt. So as you can see right there, I'm going to continue reading on this one here too. As you can clearly see, what was Nehemiah saying? Now, first let's get a little history on this. What used to happen during those days or whatever, there would be vendors that would come in and try to sell to the children of Israel. Now, on a Sabbath day, there were gates there, and they would close the gates so that the people couldn't get in. So where would be objects and things like that, trinkets or whatever, and victuals, that's food. So, I mean, it's no different. All these vendors is what the stores and stuff are now. Instead of them coming to us on a Sabbath day, we go to them to go buy and sell. So as you see it says right here, we cannot buy and we cannot sell on the Sabbath. Pretty easy, right? Okay, so now let's go to we're going to go to a precept now, because as you see, clear, we can't buy and we can't sell. So now I want you to let's go right here to Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 21. Same book, different chapter. Nehemiah chapter 13, and we're going to read verse 21. Now, let's see here. Let me see how far I want to read down to. All right, here we go. Perfect. Now, reading verse 21. Now, as you see, I always show that there's a consequence when you don't break these commandments. Now, let me tell you right now, I love Nehemiah. If outside of Christ, if there was a favorite person that I would have in the Bible, it's Nehemiah, and you're about to find out why. Let's read verse 21. Then I testified against them and said unto them, why lodge ye about the wall? So remember when I was talking about the history or whatever, here's these other nations, these other merchants outside the gates of Israel trying to get in to sell on the Sabbath. So listen to what Nehemiah says. Then I testified against them, he's talking to those people, and said unto them, why lodge ye about the walls? You say, why are y'all outside lined up against the wall? If ye do so again, I will lay hands on you. From that time forth came they no more on the Sabbath. Nehemiah was like, yo, listen, why y'all lined outside against the wall? Yo, if y'all come back and y'all line up against these walls again on a Sabbath day, I'm going to put hands on you. I'm going to lay hands on you. But why was Nehemiah like that, though? Because he understood the ramifications of breaking the commandment of buying or selling on the Sabbath. That was a huge freaking deal. Nehemiah knew, like, yo, listen, and now remember, they are just coming out of slavery. So remember, the Most High was already whooping that ass in Egypt. So we're now, guess what? We got out, and now everybody's trying to keep tight, making sure, yo, let's make sure we keep these commandments. Let's make sure we keep these commandments. Everything unlike we're doing today. So Nehemiah knew, like, yo, listen, if y'all break these commandments, yo, like, yo, there's a problem, all right? Y'all can't break these commandments. Yo, get away. Don't entice my people. All right, so now let's go ahead and go to Exodus chapter, chapter 16 and verse 23. Exodus chapter 16 and verse 23. And what I'm doing, like I said, I'm taking you everywhere in the Bible where you can see where what you're supposed to do and not supposed to do on the Sabbath day. All right? Here it is, verse 23. And he said unto them, now, this is about no cooking. You cannot cook on the Sabbath. And here he's going to explain it. And when he says he, right now he's talking about Moses. And he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth overlay up for you to be kept until the morning. So, what Moses is saying right there, bake means cook. Cook everything that you got to cook today before the Sabbath, and boil everything. That's what seething means. Seething means boil. Boil everything that you have to before the Sabbath. Now, you are supposed to prepare for the Sabbath. That means anything that you need to buy needs to be done before the Sabbath. Anything that you need to cook needs to be cooked before the Sabbath. Any work that needs to be done has to be done before the Sabbath. You see, and these laws just continuously go out and out and out and out. Now that's that's Old Testament. So now people are going to try to argue with you. Now Christ came back, all right, and when Christ came back, he did away with all the laws after his death. That's what Christ died for, right? Yeah, no, that is not true. Because even in the book of Revelation, as you saw, it told you that you have to keep the commandments. Revelation happened, that's in the future. So that's way after the death of Christ that we're supposed to be keeping these commandments. So now let's go ahead, let's go to the New Testament. Let's go to Mark. Let's go to the book of Mark. Let's go to chapter, let's do this. Which one do I want to drive this point home? Let's go to Mark 15 and verse 42. Let's start at 42. Okay, now, just to give a little history on this. This is right after Christ had died, all right? Where Christ was actually in the tomb, where they wanted to put him in the tomb. He was up on the cross, and Joseph of Arimathea was trying to go ahead and get him down, all right? So he wasn't in the tomb yet. This is when they were trying to get him in there. Watch this. And now when the even was come, because it was the preparation, that is the day before the Sabbath. You see that? That same preparation time, just like Moses said. Joseph of Arimathea, an honorable counselor, which also waited for the kingdom of God. So, the Joseph of Arimathea is an Israelite, and he's waiting for the kingdom of God. How? Because he's keeping the commandments. So as you see, even at this time right now, Christ died, and they're still keeping the Sabbath. But let's go ahead and continue. I'm going to start again at 43. Joseph of Arimathea, an honorable counselor, which also waited for the kingdom of God, came and went in boldly unto Pilate and craved the body of Jesus. And Pilate marveled if he were already dead, and calling unto him the centurion, he asked him whether he had been any while dead. So as you see, Christ is already dead, and Joseph of Arimathea is still keeping the Sabbath. So that right there will blow away any type of discussion as to whether or not Christ died so we no longer keep the commandment. That is a lie. As you see right here, Christ died, and Joseph of Arimathea, a man waiting for the kingdom of God, is still keeping the Sabbath. So that blows that theory right there out the window. That's just one versus the many. All right, now let's see. Let's go to what we're supposed to be doing on the Sabbath day in regards to worship. So now let's go to Leviticus, Old Testament, Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 3. Now, if you don't know what convocation is the gathering of the Israelites, the worship of the Most High. It's church. Let's see when we are supposed to be in church. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 3. 6 days shall work be done. Here it is, repeating itself. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. So as you see right there, the gathering, the convocation, the holy convocation, we are supposed to be doing that on the Sabbath day. Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, not Sunday. Now, when you go to church on Sunday, guess what? You are in violation of the first commandment of the 10, that there should be no other God before me. Right there. Why? Because when you do Sunday worship, you are worshiping the sun god Ra, that the Egyptians follow, that the Emperor Constantine put in place. That is the worship of Semiramis and Tammuz. So I'm telling you, every time you walk into a Christian church on Sunday, you are in immediate sin. Because you are supposed to be convocating on the Sabbath day, just like the Bible said. So you can go back to the Christian churches if you want to, but you better remember, every time you walk into a Christian church to worship on the Sunday, you're in violation. That's what the word says, not me. Now, how serious is the Most High God about keeping these commandments? Let's go to Numbers chapter 15 and verse 32. Numbers chapter 15 and verse 32. And it reads, and while the children of Israel, there it is again, only talking to Israel, not the whole world. And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day. So what does that constitute? The man was actually picking up sticks. He was working on the Sabbath. And they that found him gathering sticks brought him unto Moses and Aaron and unto all the congregation. Now remember, the Israelites just came out of slavery, out of Egypt. So remember, everyone's walking around pins and needles like, look, we got to make sure we keep these commandments. These brothers and sisters are serious about keeping these commandments. And they put him in ward. So you see, they brought him to Moses and Aaron and the congregation, and then they put him in ward. Ward means jail. They put him in jail. They were holding him. And let's see why. Because it was not declared what should be done unto him. So remember, they're like, listen, wait a minute. Dude, you're breaking the commandments by picking up sticks on the Sabbath day. Now, you remember what we just came out of. Why are you doing this? So we got to bring you to the congregation and see, man, what should happen to you, because you should not be doing this. We all know it, so we're gonna try to get your mind right. And the Lord said unto Moses, listen to this. The man shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp. So the Most High went ahead and charged Moses, Aaron, and the congregation to kill this man for picking up sticks on the Sabbath. So I want you to think about this. I want you to think about you going outside on the Sabbath day between Friday sundown, Saturday sundown, and you go in your yard and you're picking up sticks, or you're picking up leaves, or you're doing some type of gardening work or anything like that. Some type of work. Little stuff. Doing your laundry. Doing dishes. You'll be put to death for that. That's how serious the Most High is when it comes to keeping the Sabbath day. It's not a joke. And that is why we are still in our condition today. Because our people go out, they buy, they sell, they cook, they have cookouts. They do all this on the Sabbath day. And the Most High said, no. What are we supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be worshiping the Most High on the Sabbath day, get together, congregate, and rest. Why? Because that is what God does. He rests on the Sabbath day. So, I don't know about you, but after hearing that, so let's see if they actually carry that out. So let's see what happened. And all the congregation brought him without the camp and stoned him with stones, and he died as the Lord commanded Moses. That's in the Bible. You see that, right? And nothing's changed. As you see with Joseph of Arimathea, nothing has changed. We are still supposed to be keeping the Sabbath day. No cooking, no working, no buying, no selling. Rest and worship. That's it. And I got to talk to you ladies here for a second. Because a lot of this stuff is geared around the things that you do. I really want you to think about this. What do these other nations do on the Sabbath day? From Friday to Saturday, what do they do? That is when all of the sales go into effect. Friday night to Saturday night. All the department stores, everything, to get y'all to get out and go buy. These other nations know. They know this. Because remember, when they keep us in sin, we can't be put back into power, as the Most High promised. So you see what they do? They do this on purpose. Friday sales, Saturday sales, the big sales too. And then what happens on Sunday? Everything is right back to normal. Back to regular price. And I say females because a lot of the advertising is geared towards you. Not saying that men don't go out and buy stuff or whatever, because we do. But the advertising, the enticement, is geared towards you. And you know what else? Let's go ahead and talk about this. The club. When does the club always jump off? Friday night. So ladies, let's see if there's some more attacks against you. Let's see this. So here it is. Here's the club, Friday night. So here's your invitation with what they advertise all over the radio. Ladies, guess what? Come out in your most scantily clad outfits or whatever. Come out to the club. You're getting free. So in other words, come hoe it up with us here Friday night. So as you out there shaking your ass at the club, you already breaking sin. You already committing a sin. Why? Because you are not supposed to be doing that. You are supposed to be resting and worshiping the Most High. There is no worshiping the Most High shaking your ass in a club. Now, the fellas, they tell you at the club, you got to pay. You got to pay to get in. And then when you pay to get in, what do? You sitting there with your thing on, passing out drinks to the ladies. Now, didn't we read earlier about the sobriety? You see how they do this? This is all by design. Who are the clubs owned by? The other nations. To keep you in sin. So that we don't get the kingdom faster than we're already going to get it. That is all by design. And I don't think you ladies understand the type of influence that you could have in rebuilding this kingdom. Imagine this. I want you to imagine you sisters, you black, Latino, Native American sisters. If you were to tell these fellas, right, that's trying to holler at you, trying to get at you. You know what? Hold on a second. Back up, fella. Why don't you teach me these commandments and let me watch you practice them before you can even step to me? Do you understand what that would do? That would create biblical scholars overnight. Because these fellas would be in this book learning these scriptures just to be able to step to you with value. I said it before, you sisters don't know your value. And fellas, guess what? You don't understand your value either. Because we are supposed to be keeping these commandments. So guess what, fellas? It's time to stop playing and step up. Because these sisters are dependent on us. You understand that? These sisters are depending on us doing the right thing. When we get our minds right, guess what? They follow. That's what the scriptures say. So while you out there playing around and whoring out your sisters, you are the reason why we are not getting the kingdom as fast as we should. Because we're supposed to be on top, according to Deuteronomy 7:6 and Deuteronomy 28:1. So I'm going to say this right now. Stop stopping the progress. All right? Let's continue. The next one. This is a major. Holidays. And as you see, everything I'm showing you right now, you can actually start doing today. I want you to go to Jeremiah chapter 10, and we're going to start at verse 1. That's Old Testament. Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 1. I already know right now there's a lot of you that's going to get pissed off. But this is a pill that you must swallow. And I bet you did not even know this was in the Bible. Verse 1, Jeremiah 10, verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Again, he's only talking to the Israelites. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen. Let me stop right there. The heathen are the other nations. The Most High is telling the Israelites, as Black, Latinos, and Native Americans, don't learn the way of the other nations. Now, what are some of the ways of the other nations? Their holidays. 4th of July. Memorial Day. Columbus Day. Halloween. Easter. But there's a big one, though. You know what I'm about to go to. There's a big one. Watch this. And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. What is he talking about there? He's talking about seeing shooting stars and all that stuff or whatever. They worship all that nonsense. The moon, all right? They worship the moon, right? The Arabs or whatnot, and Muslim and Islam, they worship the moon, their moon god. The Most High said, do not be dismayed by that, all right? Don't be marveled by that nonsense. For the customs of the people are vain. You know what vain means? Worthless. Their customs are worthless. For, here we go. Open your ears. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. You already know where this is going. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. What is that talking about? That's talking about a Christmas tree. The Christmas tree, the Most High said, don't put up no Christmas tree. Why? Because it is heathenish and it is vain. That was a commandment. Let's continue. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. Because here's a little history behind this. Back then, during the days of Constantine and all that nonsense or whatever, they used to take these trees. They were either palm trees or evergreens. And they used to take them and put them up. And they used to decorate them. They used to have Yule logs. They used to take the presents and put it under these trees, which is today where you get your Christmas presents from. But they will worship this tree as a god. You see how sick that is? Now, this is the Christmas tree, as you clearly see. We're in the book of Jeremiah. The book of Jeremiah was written 606 BC. This is 600 years before Christ was born. So the Christmas tree has absolutely nothing to do with Christ. Nothing at all. So when you think you're celebrating the birth of Christ, you're not. You are celebrating a damn devil. And you take these Christmas trees and put them in your house, following the customs of the other nations, which the Most High said, don't do. So guess what? You are not to celebrate Christmas if you are a Black, Latino, or Native American. It is a sin to celebrate Christmas. You can't do it. Why? God said so. And he laid that one out crystal clear so that absolutely nobody would be able to deny that. Now, do you know what's the thing that killed me? Because this used to happen in the Christian church when I was in that nonsense. I would walk into a Christian church and there is a damn Christmas tree. So that tells you right there that these pastors don't know this book. Those evil ass Christian pastors don't know this Bible. And here you are talking about you are worshiping the Most High God and there's this big damn devil right in front of you. It's crazy, isn't it? The Most High gave us our time. You know what it's called? It is called the Feast of Dedication. Some people call it Hanukkah. That is what the Israelites are supposed to keep. And guess what? It comes included with gifts. You can give gifts throughout that time. So how hard is it for you not to celebrate their holiday and celebrate our own? Now let me tell you how the Most High get down. The other nations spend 1 day to celebrate. The Feast of Dedication lasts 10 days. The Most High parties for 10 days. They party for 1. And here it is. The Most High is like, yo, I'm giving y'all the Feast of Dedication. Here it is. This is my gift to you. This is what you are supposed to worship. But we follow this nonsense, this garbage. Santa. And if you take the words and just change a little bit, it spells Satan. Come on, man. And this is something that we can do. You do not have to celebrate Christmas. God gave us our day to celebrate. Days to party and celebrate. So now, being that you're coming into this truth, right? A lot of you, oh, it's for the kids, it's for the kids. Guess what? You're going to kill your kids right along with yourself because you are in sin. We cannot celebrate Christmas. Let it go according to the word. Let it go. Stop celebrating their holidays. And you know what? There's another one, the 4th of July. I don't understand any Black, Latino, and Native American that celebrate the 4th of July. Because during that time, in 1776 or whatever it was, guess what? Your black ass was in slavery. That is not your independence. Do you know what our Independence Day is? Passover. Because that is the time celebrated when the Most High got us out of Egypt. That is what we are supposed to celebrate. The Passover. That is our independence. Not theirs. When they were lighting off fireworks, you were in chains. And you know what else about Christmas? Those Christmas gifts and things like that, during the time of slavery, you were the gift. They were taking you or snatching up your sons and daughters or whatever and sending them off to other plantations as gifts. You were a gift. You were a whore gift given. You ladies, you were a whore gift given to somebody else on Christmas. Why are we celebrating that? We don't have to. We shouldn't be. I don't celebrate it anymore. You don't need to either. I celebrate Hanukkah. I celebrate the Feast of Dedication, what the Most High told us to celebrate. It's on you. Remember, you stay in that sin, you're being put to death. All right, now, this is going to be the final one for this lesson. We're going to do these in increments. But like I said, these are the ones that you can actually start doing today. This is a biggie because this one has a lot of emotional attachments. But guess what? We cannot do it. Interracial marriage. Interracial marriage is a no-no with the Most High. We can't do it. And excuse me, my voice is getting hoarse. This is rude. I know it's not camera professional, but I'm thirsty. Interracial marriage. We cannot do. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 13. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that hate this. And I'm going to tell you right now, by the end of this one here, there's going to be a lot of hurt people and a lot of changed minds. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 13, and we're going to read to 16. Therefore will I shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place. So it looks like the Most High is not playing around right now, is he? He said he's going to shake the heavens and move the earth out of its place. In the wrath of the Lord of hosts, in the day of his fierce anger. Back to the setup. This is going back to the setup. What we first learned. And it shall be as the chase roe. Now, what's a roe? A roe is a deer. All right. Now, what happens when a predator is chasing a deer? It's running around places, it's running scattered. The Most High God is actually taking this as an example of what it's going to look like with these other nations and the 2/3 Israelites, what it's going to look like when them chariots are coming and they lighten them freaking fire laser beams or whatever it is up. And it shall be as the chase roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land. Now, in that day, in the day of the Lord's sacrifice, all the other nations are going to start returning back to their own places. White people are going to start going back to Europe. The Indians are going back to India. The Arabs are going back to Saudi Arabia and all them little places and everything over there. Why? Because they are going to be delivering up the children of Israel, us. They're going to be running away from us. They're all going back to their own place. Why? Because the Most High God always wanted the nations separate, never together. Ever, ever, ever. It says it all throughout this Bible. Christ was all about division, and so was the Most High. Let's continue. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Do you understand what that just said? As these other nations are running off, the Most High said, for all of you Israelites, all of you that are trying to keep your relationships with them and join them, you are going to be cut by the sword. You are going to die for doing that. And if you think for 1 second that that's not what that means, oh, we're going to continue reading. Don't you worry about it. Their children also shall be dashed into pieces before their eyes. Did you read what that just said? Do you see the wrath of God? God has no remorse for adult or child. Do you see that? He said their children is going to be dashed to pieces in front of their eyes. This is where the weeping and the gnashing of teeth are coming in. This is what that day is all about. People are going to be thinking that Christ is coming back and handing out teddy bears and holding hands and going into the rainbows. No! This is a horrible, horrible, horrible day. And the Most High right here is showing you that everybody is going to be separated. And guess what? This is not the only verse we're going to read. We're going to read so much more. Let's continue. Their houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravaged. That's what we don't need to go any more further with that. I can stop right there, but of course I'm not going to. Let's go ahead and continue. Now let's go to, I want to go to the book of Joshua, chapter 23, and let's do verse 11. We're going to start at verse 11. The book of Joshua, chapter 23, and verse 11. All right, here we go. And it reads, Take good heed, therefore unto yourselves, that ye love the Lord your God. Now, how do you love God? You love God by keeping the commandments and do what he tells you to do. Else if ye do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations. This is saying the same thing that is said in Jeremiah. You trying to join or cleave to these other nations. Even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them, and go in unto them, and they unto you. Know for a certainty that the Lord your God will no more drive out any of these nations from before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until ye perish from off this good land which the Lord your God hath given you. That is plain and simple. Why did the Most High say you are not to make marriages with them? Because they're going to be thorns and sides in for you. We can't be married to them. That's bottom line. We cannot marry anyone outside of the nation of Israel. Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, we all have to stay within our own people. That's right. We can only marry the 12 tribes. That is it. Black can be with a Latino. Black can be with a Native American. A Native American can be with a Latino. A Native American can be with a black. That's how it goes. That is the law of the Most High God. But that's not it, though. Let's go ahead and continue. And did you see what it said here? You saw that. You saw what the Most High said. The remnant of them. You can't do it. Let's continue. Let's go now to Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 1. And this one, I like this one too. Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 1. And it reads, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. So as you see, the Most High goes through and tells you. He tells you. Again, I said in my other videos, the Most High God is the master of specificity. He does not play. He leaves nothing out. He leaves nothing to chance. Let's continue. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them. So here's what's happening if you're not understanding this. Now, when we come back into power, the Most High is going to bring the other nations in front of us, and either two things are happening. For one, if you were an Edomite, you're being wiped off the earth. Now, they'll be in slavery for 1,000 years, and then the Most High is wiping them completely off of the planet. If you don't understand that, and if you don't know about that, go read the book of Obadiah. The book of Obadiah tells you everything about that. Now, they're going to be bringing the other nations, and we're going to be smiting them. Now, you know what a smite means? A smite means a hard blow, a hard hit, to smite them. Kill them. Let's continue. I'm going to start back at 2. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before you, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them. A marriage is a covenant. You cannot do that, as it says over and over and over. Nor show mercy unto them. The Most High said, don't show them any mercy. That's right here in the scriptures. I'm not making this up. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. Here's why. Verse 4. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. Did you see what the Most High God just said? If you marry them, the Most High is going to punish you. Why? Because they are going to pull you away from serving the God of Israel. So now, when you marry a white person, who are you going to serve? White Jesus. When you marry a Chinese person, Buddha. When you marry an Arab woman, Allah. When you marry an Indian, harsh Krishna. You see that? The Most High God knew that all the way back then. This is why he told us, don't marry them. That's in the scriptures. That's not racism. That is a commandment by the Most High God. And did you see what he said? If we do, he is going to destroy you. Point blank and simple. Point blank. Play around if you want to. Now let's continue. But thus ye deal with them, ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. What's those graven images or whatever? The cross and white Jesus. All the statues of harsh Krishna and Buddha and all that nonsense. The cobblestone. We're going to be destroying all of that. Verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. That is what the Most High God said about you, Israel, you black Latinos and Native Americans, that we are his special people and we are above all people on the face of the earth. That is what the Most High God said. I didn't say it. Mike Maliss did not say that. The Most High God said it. I'm just repeating it. So there's the reason why you cannot marry the other nations. One, if you do, you're going to be done with. That's the promise. That was a commandment, not a suggestion. Let's continue. Now I want to go to Daniel chapter 2. Let's go to Daniel chapter 2. Let's go to which verse I want to go to? Let's go to verse 43. Daniel chapter 2, and we're going to start at verse 43. And a lot of you may have heard this here before. And the Christian church may have tried to give you some understanding and they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. But this is a precept, which means this is what we are already talking about now. And now you're going to have the understanding of what it means. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. Israel. These other nations are going to mix their seed with Israel. But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay, because you can't mix the two. The Most High God says Israel is the iron, and the clay, it can't mix with it because it's not supposed to. Verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. This is talking about the last days when Christ comes back with the angels and he wipes out the 2/3 rebellious Israelites and all of those that they're going to kill, but the remnant is going to be left for slavery. And the kingdom shall not be left to the other people. Do you see that? The kingdom shall not be left to the other people. Why? Because the Israelites are the only ones that are allowed into the kingdom. Simple. We talked about that in other lessons. But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So we are going to be destroying all the other kingdoms, and we are going to be the only ones standing. That is why the Most High said that's a no-no for us to go ahead and try to cleave onto these other nations. We can't be married to them. Point blank and simple. Let's continue. Now let's go to, let's go to Peter, 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. That's New Testament. For all of you out there that be sure, oh, that's Old Testament stuff. New Testament. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. And here is the reason. Now, for one, remember, if you are a part of a kingdom and living in a kingdom, what does that make you? You black, Latinos, and Native Americans, what does it make you? It makes you royalty. Let's read. But ye are a chosen generation. Now, did we not read that in Deuteronomy 7:6? We are the chosen ones. A royal priesthood. Woo! Did you hear that? Royalty. We are a royal priesthood. We are regal. We are royal. And holy nation. Holy means separate. A holy nation. A peculiar people. That ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of the darkness into his marvelous light. So this is talking to the 1/3. The 1/3 of you who actually are making the stride to keep these commandments. The Most High God said he's bringing you in to his royal priesthood, into his family, because he chose you. The only ones he chooses are the ones who are willing to keep the commandments. So if you're watching this now and you're like, I'm going to start doing these commandments, guess what? You were chosen. That is not by chance. The Most High God chose you. And you see, he said, you better praise it. Praise it. Praise the God for doing that. Incredible. Now, let's go to 1 Esdras. This is in the Apocrypha. 1 Esdras. Esdras, for those of you that don't know how to spell it. 1 Esdras chapter 9, and we're going to read 7 through 9. This is why they took this out. Now, as you saw, every time we read something from the Apocrypha, it was very descriptive and it was very hard-hitting, right? Watch this. 1 Esdras chapter 9, verse 7. So Esdras arose up and said unto them, who? You already know. Ye have transgressed the law in marrying strange wives, thereby to increase the sins of Israel. Wow. Do you see that? I'm going to read that again. So Esdras arose up and said unto them, the Israelites, ye have transgressed the law. You have broken the law. You have broken the commandments in marrying strange wives, marrying the other nations, thereby to increase the sin of Israel. They knew what this meant for our people. They knew by doing this that this was going to put us in a horrible, horrible state. They knew all the way back then, if they start doing that, what was going to happen to us today. And now, by confessing, give glory unto the Lord God of our fathers. You see that? And do his will. What is the will of God? Keeping the commandments. And separate yourselves from the heathen of the land and from the strange women. That's talking to you fellas. That's talking to us. We cannot go after these other nations. We can't. Law, commandment, we can't do it. Absolutely crazy. Now, let's go to Tobit, again, in the Apocrypha, the book of Tobit. Now, and I want to say this again. Do you see how hard-hitting that is? That's why they took these out of the Bible. to keep us in sin. Because as you see, all of these go ahead and hit the hard sin. And it shows you why we shouldn't. Now, without these, when you look at those other scriptures, guess what? We really can't put them together. But this puts it all together. So now, let's go to the book of Tobit, chapter 4 and verse 12. This one right here is going to make you fall out your chair. Beware of all whoredom. Now, of course, let me stop right there. You know what whoredom gets you. It gets you death. It gets you put to death. Beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers. And take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe. For we are the children of the prophets. No, meaning Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Israelites. Do you see that? Do you see what it said what we had to do? Man. And Jacob, remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they all married wives of their own kindred and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. Did you see that? That's why they took that out. Because we were instructed to marry our own women. Blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, all within the 12 tribes. We can only make seed and create children out of the 12 tribes. Why? Because men, you fellas, me, you, our seed is royal. We produce royalty. That is why. That is why the Most High God is so adamant that we don't create children with the other nations. Because it is a royal seed. It is the royal priesthood. Your child is royalty. You are royalty. And we have to keep it with our queens and princesses. Royalty. 13. Now therefore, my son, love thy brethren, and despise not in thy heart thy brethren, the sons and daughters of thy people, in not taking a wife of them. For in pride is destruction. Woo, let me stop right there. Because you know, like how a lot of our brothers and whatnot would go ahead and they marry outside the nation. Then they felt like they think they got a trophy. They think they got a trophy. And they're so prideful. And the Most High God said that pride is going to lead to your destruction. Man. For in pride is destruction and much trouble. And in lewdness is decay. What is decay? That's death. And great want, for lewdness is the mother of famine. Broken down, hard. That's hard hitting. I don't know if that did not get you, but man, the first time I read that, woo, broke me. Now, let's go ahead. I want to follow up with a precept. Let's go right now to, I want to go to Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18. Remember, this Bible is all about precepts. All about precepts. Precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. You got to search all over these scriptures and put the puzzle pieces together. Verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they declared their pedigrees. What is pedigree? Lineage. Your lineage. After their families by the house of their fathers. Now remember in Tobit, what did Tobit say? He was talking to the men. Men, do not go out there and mingle your seed with the other nations. That's a no-no. You can't do that. Now I'm about to get into something very, very hard. Very, very hard, and it's going to be going to be horrible for some of you that have made this mistake. Now, as you just read in Tobit and here in the book, in the book of Numbers, The man carries the seed. So if a man has a seed, has a child with a woman of another nation, guess what? That seed is still Israel. Because it's a seed. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I condoning that men can go out there, that our men can go out there and mingle with the other nation, because as you see, the Most High God just said, no, you can't do that. But it is determined by the house of the Father, which means that that child is going to be an Israelite because of the seed. Now, as far as the women, if you have had a child, if you are an Israelite, a black, Latino, or Native American, if you have had a child with another nation, that child has no chance for the kingdom because it's not Israel. That is the seed of another nation. This is why the Most High God was adamant, absolutely adamant about us not marrying outside the nation of Israel. So right now, for you women, like I said, you have your children and everything, and you love them. But there's either going to be two outcomes for them. One, if it's an Edomite, they're being wiped off the face of the earth. If you don't know what an Edomite is, an Edomite today would be the Caucasians. They are being destroyed according to the book of Obadiah. The Most High God is getting rid of them off the earth altogether. And if it's someone of the other nations, if the Most High does not put them to death when he returns, they're going to be in slavery. They have no chance of the kingdom. But for the men out there that actually had children outside the nations, then guess what? You are in this truth now, so guess what you have to do? You have to teach your son and your daughter that's an Israelite that they have to marry inside the nation of Israel. And if they don't, their kids are being put to death right along with themselves. That's the truth. That's harsh. That is a bitter pill to swallow, but that pill is going to be swallowed whether you like it or not, because that's what the Most High God said. Now let me show you just how serious they were about keeping that commandment. Now we're going to go back to my man, Nehemiah. We're going right back to Nehemiah. I want to go to Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 23. Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 23. Water break. All right. And here we go. My man Nehemiah. Watch this. In those days also saw I Jews. Who are the Jews? Israelites. What is Nehemiah saying? I saw Jews, I saw Israelites that married wives of Ashdod, which is not of our nation, of Ammon, the Japanese, and of Moab, the Chinese. Now, let me stop right there. Now, we know a lot of our brothers like them Asian women. That's still happening today. They was doing it all the way back then. Let's continue. And their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language. So here's another reason. Because when the Most High God spoke to us, whatever he spoke to us in Hebrew. So guess what? They were marrying outside these nations, and guess what? The translation was not there. So guess what? They were being pulled from their God, just like it said in the other books that we read. Let's continue. And could not speak in the Jews' language, Hebrew, but according to the language of each people. Our children were speaking different languages. That is why today you understand me in English. Verse 25. Here's Nehemiah, my man. And I contended with them and cursed them and smote certain of them. Now we know what smite now. He said, hold on, let's take it back to the beginning. And I contended. What does that mean? I fought with them. I fought them and cursed them. He was cursing them out. And smote them, hitting them with them heavy blows. He was wearing their ass out. And plucked off their hair. He was pulling their hair out. and made them swear by God. He made them swear to God, saying, ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Nehemiah was beating the hell out these dudes when he learned that they was marrying outside our nation. He was putting hands on them. I'm telling you, Nehemiah was about that business. He did not play. Why? Because he knew the consequences. Nehemiah knew all the way back then what was going to happen to us today if they didn't get their minds right. And now guess what? We are a generation that is destroyed. They cared about us all the way back then. They loved us so much back then that Nehemiah was putting brakes to these brothers for marrying outside the nations, for not sticking with our sisters. 26. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Because we know that Solomon had that problem too. Solomon he loved the other nations. Solomon was all about them other nations. He loved them exotic looking chicks. Yet among many nations was there no king like him. So he's saying, yo, there was nobody like Solomon. Nobody like him, who was beloved of his God, and God loved Solomon. And God made him king over all Israel. So right there you see, he was an Israelite, a black man. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin. And you see it right there. Even though God loved Solomon, he said, yo, you dealing with these other nations, you are in sin. He's like, even Solomon fell to this. Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil? Do you see what the Most High is calling this? He said it's evil. To transgress against our God in marrying strange wives? What does transgress mean? Transgress means to break the commandments. We can't do it. And that is something that you can actually stop doing now. Now, for those of you that don't know this story or whatever, so what would happen with this here? Nehemiah made all these brothers, they had 30 days to get rid of those wives. They wasn't like you can keep them. He put the brakes to these dudes and said, y'all got 30 days to get rid of these women and get them out of here. That's scripture. Now, as you see, as we go through these commandments here, and that's the last one that we're going to do for today. I know it was a lot. This is something that we can actually start following today. The Most High is serious. Our brothers, all the way back then, the prophets, were serious about keeping these commandments. We cannot play with this book. As a matter now, let me find it. Let me get a scripture here for you. Let's get something. I'm going to show you just how serious this keeping the commandments are. Watch this. I'm pulling it up here. I want you to go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. And that's Old Testament. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. This is the entire conclusion of the Bible. The ultimate conclusion. And here it is. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. I'm going to read that again. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man. You see that? That's what the whole Bible is about. That is your job. Your job is to keep the commandments. That's it. That's it. So that was the lesson for today. So as you see, these are things that you can actually stop doing and start doing today. Now, I'm probably going to do this once a month where we go through a lot of these commandments and whatnot, but keep watching the videos because I talk about a lot of the commandments throughout the videos, but the ones that are going to be just strictly dedicated to this, I'm going to do about once a month. But keep watching. And most importantly, get in the Bible and read. Start reading this book. This is your book. As we read earlier, this is our book. The oracles was given to us. So these are your instructions. You know how they say the Bible stands for basic instructions before leaving earth? And that's somewhat true. These are instructions, period. Okay, not just before leaving earth. This is instructions, period. Because guess what? Even after you die, guess what? You'll still be keeping the commandments. And if you are a part of the 1/3, guess what? When you come back, you are going to still be keeping the commandments. Because these commandments were established from the very beginning all the way till now and will be in the future. All right, so that's that. I really hope you've been edified by this lesson. And Israel, I love y'all. I'm out.